If you stay awake for 18 hours straight and get behind the wheel of a car, your cognitive performance drops to the exact same level as having a blood alcohol concentration of 0.05%. By 24 hours, that impairment hits 0.10%. You are now operating past the legal driving limit in every state, effectively driving drunk. Pushing through an all-nighter triggers a biological cascade, where your brain actively begins to poison itself. Sleep is a high-stakes maintenance cycle, a specific biological window dedicated to performing critical neurological repairs. So, what happens to the human mind and biology when this critical maintenance crew never shows up for their shift? The first major system failure hits right at the 24-hour mark. At this stage, your brain's capacity to form new memories drops by 40%. It stops transferring your short-term experiences into long-term storage. The experiences you have during this time leave no biological trace. They fail to be recorded by the brain in the first place. If you stay awake for 48 to 72 hours, the biology takes a darker turn. This is the threshold where visual hallucinations and sleep deprivation psychosis begin to set in. To understand why, we have to look at the glymphatic system. This is a specialized waste clearance network entirely separate from the rest of the body, and it only operates during deep sleep. While you sleep, your brain cells contract by 60%, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to wash away metabolic waste. Missing a single night stops that process. Toxic beta amyloid proteins quickly build up, increasing by 5% in those clogged pathways. As these toxins accumulate, the brain starts to misfire. It struggles to process visual information, confusing shadows for people and blurring wakefulness and dreaming. Hallucinations result from a brain actively suffocating in its own accumulating toxins. We know what happens at the extreme edge of this biological limit from a 1963 experiment. A 17-year-old named Randy Gardner decided to stay awake for 11 days straight. His high school classmates kept a strict log of his rapidly deteriorating physical and mental condition. By the final days, Gardner was exhibiting severe symptoms. He couldn't subtract simple numbers, lost his train of thought, and suffered from extreme paranoia. Yet, in a bizarre anomaly amidst his cognitive collapse, he still beat a Stanford sleep researcher in a game of pinball on the 10th day. Gardner's 11-day marathon proved that pushing human biology to its absolute extreme shatters a person's grip on reality. He slept for 14 hours straight after the experiment ended and seemed to bounce back completely. But that neurological damage was not entirely erased. Decades later, in his 60s, Gardner began suffering from severe chronic insomnia, a delayed consequence of his 11-day stunt. Abusing the brain's delicate architecture leaves a permanent, invisible scar on the body's internal biological systems. Most of us will never try to stay awake for 264 hours, but the everyday reality of missing just 1 or 2 hours of sleep a night carries its own severe risks. This chart shows how healthy neuron density compares to the damage of chronic sleep restriction. Missing those hours can cause up to a 25% permanent loss of neurons in the locus coeruleus, a brain region critical for maintaining alertness. Over decades, carrying that constant sleep debt accelerates the buildup of the exact same proteins linked to Alzheimer's disease. But the damage isn't inevitable if you prioritize recovery and healthy habits. Sleep acts as an active biological shield that protects your perception of reality, making it the most critical routine you have for long-term mental survival.